Welcome back to all our attendees. Our next speaker, Mr. Ricardo Perez, Systems Engineer at Fortinet, speaking on today's topic, detecting, preventing, and staying on top of your cybersecurity threats. Over to you, Mr. Ricardo.
Thank you very much, Melvin. Welcome, everybody. So I have 15 minutes to paint a picture on what's going on in the cybersecurity space, and I have a couple of use cases as well. So before I start going to the slides, I want to give you a little bit the latest and greatest on attacks that are happening around the world. So this is a live page, a web page that is available, it's public from Fortinet, it's FortiGuard, which is our threat intelligence service. So we collect pretty much what's going on in the world around cyber attacks, around threats, and so on. So these are the virus on yesterday, the 24th, that happened around the world. So the US was hit with 3.7 million, then China and Indonesia, Brazil. So yes, you can see the threat is there, and there's a lot of activity around this, and they are getting more and more sophisticated. If we move to IPS, these are penetration attempts. These are attempts to take over a compute-based system, exploiting pretty much typically vulnerabilities in the operating system. So again, the US is leading here with almost 1 million attempts, then China, Korea, and so on and so forth. Then another area in cybersecurity is botnets. These are pretty much around doing denial of service. So when a botnet targets a company, the idea of that botnet is to bring down that service. That could be your web applications or servers and so on. Anything that is providing a service in your company. So again, US leading. So overall, we are seeing like millions of attempts pretty much on a daily basis. And this is happening, this is yesterday. We also have data of today as well. And the trend is there. We see more and more sophistication. So what can we do about it? So I have a couple of slides trying to paint again the picture. So the first thing that we need to understand a little bit is how this vulnerability try to penetrate into a corporation, right? Whatever that is. So we have the threat agent that is targeting an organization. And I think this slide is nothing new, because the methods to, transmit or penetrate organizations are the same, are pretty much the same. The only thing that is they are getting more and more sophisticated. So the threat agents just develop a piece of malware, and sometimes we call it zero-day. This is malware that haven't been seen before, which are definitely indeed more dangerous, because many of the systems are based on signatures. And if those systems do not have that signature for this new piece of malware, then they won't be able to see it. Anyway, so the threat agent built this exploit. It's a piece of malware, and now it needs to distribute it. So the easiest way and the most common way is embed that in an email as an attachment. Another option as well is to embed this piece of malware in a web server, and then create an email with a phishing link that redirects you to this web server. So now, when the attacker does that, then sends the email gets to the email server. Then you download that email, you click, and all of a sudden you become patient zero. Or you click on the URL and you go to this web page, and then the mechanism downloads the email into your laptop, and then you get infected within your organization. Typically, organizations are flat internally. So this virus or this vulnerability can now propagate over your wireless network. It can be propagated, it propagates as well over your wired network. Another way to inject these pieces of malware is through applications. As you can see today, where we interact more and more with web applications, right? Amazon buying things, uploading CVs when company posts job openings, and so on and so forth. So we interact more and more with web servers. right? But submitting forms, submitting documents, uploading pictures, things like that. So why not? One of the things is this can be leveraged to embed malware in those forms, in those pictures, in those documents. So that goes into the organization as well. And the last way typical is with USBs, and that gets malware. So what can we do about this? So obviously, mail is one of the main attack vectors. So we need to protect that with what we call a mail gateway. In our case, in Fortinet, we have what we call FortiMail. Another area, of course, we need to protect the perimeter of our company with a firewall. In this case, is FortiGate. We need to protect as well our internal network, the switching network with FortiSwitch, the wireless network with Forti access point. We also cover protecting web application servers with what we call a WAF, a web application firewall. And of course, as well, the endpoints with FortiClient. So when you look at this picture, you say, oh, okay, I am well protected. And I say, yes, but not quite, because these devices are working in silos, and security is like an engine with fluids. If there is a leak, the fluid will lose. You will lose fluid. So in this case, this is not a tight environment. If one of these elements is not up to date for whatever reason, the malware will use that less path of least resistance to penetrate. So we need to have a mechanism to make the system tighter. And for that, what we're going to do is we're going to make these different components, which at this point are acting independently, we're going to make them talk to each other and start sharing threat intelligence information to make the whole environment tighter, to just seal the environment for any potential penetration or any potential leak, if you like the comparison to a fluid system. So that is called, let me change it because I don't see, this is called security fabric, right? So the security fabric will help us to make this tighter environment. Of course, another trend is artificial intelligence. So we're bringing artificial intelligence in all these systems to make decisions in a smarter and faster way. Another area of focus is automation, because security is getting complicated, right? There are so many things, there are so many devices, organizations have so many different components, different servers, different operating systems. So it's very complicated. It's becoming very sophisticated and very complicated. So we are bringing automation into the picture to make things much easier from an operational and response point of view. And the last trend here is zero trust. In this picture, because if you look at the way of doing security in the past, everything that was coming from outside was untrusted. Everything inside is trusted. That is changing. So everything now is considered as untrusted, regardless where they are, whether they are in the inside of the organization or outside of the organization. So it's called zero trust. All right. So let me put you an example, a real use case of the security fabric about tightening the environment. So I have the mail server here, I have the web server, I have my corporate environment, and I have my laptops in my organization, and all of these are protected with the the mail gateway, the web application firewall, which is FortiWeb, the FortiGate, which is the perimeter firewall towards my organization, and endpoint protection. And I'm going to bring another point here, which is called the FortiAI or Forti Sandbox, that bring the tightness together. So now, email comes in, and this email has a malicious attachment. So at that point, FortiMail does not relay the email to the email server. So FortiMail will do some analysis first. And the analysis is going to extract the attachment, and is going to send this attachment to the sandbox or the FortiAI. Now, the FortiAI and the sandbox have the ability to run this attachment, to really perform a very deep analysis of this attachment to determine whether this attachment is malicious or not. If it's malicious, it will return that information to FortiEmail, and at that point, FortiEmail will not send that attachment to the end user. or to the email server. It will remove that attachment, and it will make some signaling saying, okay, this attachment has been removed because it's malicious. So, but we do not end there, because this attachment could come from another location, right? So what we're going to do is the FortiAI or Forti Sandbox is going to create what we call the malware package corresponding to that attachment. And this malware package is going to be now distributed to the different elements in the security fabric ecosystem in your organization. So you look at this picture now, at this point, not only FortiMail knows about that this attachment is bad, but now FortiWeb knows that that file is bad. Also, your perimeter firewall knows that that attachment is bad, and also your endpoint. So by sharing this threat intelligence information across your organization, we make the environment much tighter, because now all of the different components that used to work independently, now they reach a consensus in terms of, they have an update version of the latest protection. And this is what we call the security fabric integration. And we believe that this is extremely important, because, as mentioned, we move from a silo-based approach to a platform-based approach when it comes to security. This is an automated slide of what security fabric is. And in addition to provide this tightness, also provide visibility because of the sharing information. Zero Trust, I think I touched on this. And to finalize, I have as well a use case that brings the power of automation, and also brings the power of outsourcing these services, like to a partner such as ODP. ODP has these automations in place, and it will release a lot of workload and responsibility from your organization by buying these services from ODP. So this is an example of, this lady represents an employee in your organization, and the gentleman here on this slide represents an IT security employee. So this lady, an employee working in finance or whatever, and it doesn't really matter, gets an email, and she believes that this email is suspicious. She believes that this email contains some phishing links or some, she believes it's suspicious. So what she does is, instead of clicking, it will forward that email to security and say, okay, please, security, I believe this is suspicious. Please check about this. So at that point, the IT security employee has to go through a process, right? So I'm trying to show the manual process that the IT person needs to go through. First of all, needs to have a look at email. The second thing, he needs to identify the indicators. And if you look at this email here on the left-hand side, it has some IP addresses, also has a link. The links are these, and these IP addresses are the indicators of potential, malware. So he needs to isolate and identify these indicators, and then check several tools to determine whether these indicators are malicious or not. And there are several tools available. One of them is VirusTotal, another one is Alinvolt, FortiGuard, and so on and so forth. It will consult several of these to determine manually whether this bad or not. It will collect the results of these public services, and it will come to a conclusion. If the email is not malicious, he will have to reply back to the user, document the case, and finish the process. If he determines that this email is malicious, contains phishing link, now he has to inform the users to the user that this email is malicious. He has to erase the email. He has to check whether other users have been receiving this email, and they just click on it. They need to update some list to block this URL from coming to the organization. You will have to document the case and finally just close this case. Now, this process for one email is fine, but you can imagine that this person can be quickly overwhelmed with these manual tasks, as as the phishing links come more and more and threats come over email more and more. So we want to automate this. So what we want to do is now we're going to augment the capabilities of the IT security person with an automated response system. In our case, it's FortiSOAR, and SOAR is security orchestration and automation response. And ODP has this product into its portfolio, and it can be and it's extremely helpful to automate this process. So how does this work? So we go back to the previous process, which was pretty much manual. Now we bring FortiSOAR into this picture. FortiSOAR now connects to Exchange to retrieve this email automatically. So the IT security doesn't even have to read that. FortiSOAR now is able to parse this email and extract automatically these indicators. Now, the next step through connectors, which is pretty much API calls, can automatically query these third-party elements with these indicators. And then with some logic, we're able to determine whether this email is malicious or not, and then pretty much automate the response. Send automatic email saying this email is malicious to the user. Second thing is able to delete automatically this email, is able to generate a case automatically. In other words, by introducing the system into this picture, we move from a very manual, tedious, error-prone process to a very fast, automated response that pretty much alleviate and reduce errors into an organization. So, summary. Threats are still there. We are seeing more and more, whether those are viruses, botnets, IPS attempts, they're getting more and more sophisticated. And as a reaction, we are moving into this direction as a summary. So the different security sensors that we have in our organization do not work on a standalone basis, do not work independently. We are making them to talk to each other, and we call that security fabric. The second one is we're bringing artificial intelligence on each and every security sensor. Third one, automation is a big focus now to alleviate, reduce errors into this environment. And last thing is the zero trust access environment. So with this, I finish. I hope it's been useful. And up to you, Melwin.
Thank you, Mr. Ricardo. If there are any questions from any attendees, please do pass it on to us, and we'll pass it on to Mr. Ricardo, and Mr. Ricardo, you can reply back to them. You have a nice day, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Ricardo.
I hope it was useful. Thank you.
Very, very, very exciting presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.